What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Mindfulpreneur podcast. This week, we're going to chat about how to structure your first cold email effectively to attract opens and generate leads, plus include my winning formula. I have to say, I used this exact formula last week, sent out about 50 emails on Monday morning, and by the end of that day, I booked 3 intro calls with prospects who were interested in learning more about Nomad Creative and how I could help them. So I'm teaching as I go because this worked for me. I did a ton of research into what works, what doesn't work, what to avoid, what to include, the general structure. I attended workshops, webinars, you name it. So all I have to say is I am relatively new to sending out these cold emails. I've done it before, not really effectively, wasn't really producing any of the results that I wanted. And the fact that I really took the time to do the research, put this together properly this time, and that it worked already. And they're like good leads. Like the fact that I booked 3 within the first day is pretty insane. And I'll update you guys in a couple weeks, maybe a month, and see how it goes as I continue to do this. Hopefully, we get to sign these clients, which would be awesome. But anyways, I digress. You're here to learn, so I'm going to break down the structure of what your first email in a cold outreach sequence should look like and provide some tips for follow up emails and subject lines. So, note that I'm going to use an example as if it was my email. I'm going to give you the exact example of the email that I sent. I'll share the first one as well as some tips for the follow up, like I said. But if you do have questions about how to continue with the follow ups after that, because it's great to have like a sequence of 5 or so emails, shoot me a message in my DMs, or if you want to leave a review and put it in the comments there, that would be awesome. I would love that. So, to do some rules before we get started and start breaking this down, rule number one, most important rule, is to avoid going directly into a sales pitch. The person you're emailing does not care so much about what you do. They care a lot more about how you can help them fix their problems and pain points. So instead of trying to sell by pitching your services, you sell by telling them how your services will help them. Think about that. It's you're still selling, but you're doing it in a different way, right? You're playing on a psychology game, if you will. The biggest mistake that people make when cold emailing, including myself, by the way, I've been there, I did this, they oversell themselves. They include a ton of copy that no one's ever going to read. It's like a massive email that you're scrolling with tons of links. It's just overwhelming. Chances are that's just going to end up in spam, or someone's going to see it and be like, yeah, no, I'm not reading this. This is junk. So it's important to be mindful not to use spammy words, of course, like free or book now or sale, because those spam filters are just going to catch those and throw your email in spam. Or just outright block your email, which is no fun, and not good for deliverability, because you want to make sure that you're on people's safe lists and that you're not actually spamming them, right? So there's a difference between you trying to send out cold emails to a large group of people to actually get you business versus spammers who are literally just there to spam us. So we are not spammers. Make sure you're doing all the things to avoid landing in spam. Another thing you can do is to set up SPF, DKIM, and DMARK, so DKIM and DMARC records. That's a whole other topic. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we're not going to cover that today, but look into it. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Just Google it. It's a great starting point on setting up those records to make sure that you're not landing in spam. It's not always perfect. It doesn't always work, but it's a good start. As long as you do all the things that you need to do, you're better off than someone who's just sending mass emails without taking precaution. So, okay. So this is email number 1. I'm going to break down this sequence. You're going to want to share who you are, what you do, why they should care, why you're reaching out, and a call to action. So you're going to keep it super, super short, just a few sentences, be as brief as you can. I know that we really tend to drag things on. We want to include as much information as possible. But like I said, that's kind of like overselling. At the end of the day, people need the gist of what you're doing, why you're emailing them. And then it's up to them to decide if they want to learn more or not. So the more brief you are, the better chances people will actually read the email and hopefully reply. So, first off, who you are. Here's an example. Hey, first name, I'm Alyssa. I run a social media marketing agency that supports small to mid sized businesses in location and beyond. Then you can add a personalization. So, the important thing in the intro is number one, to obviously introduce yourself, say where you're coming from. Note that I did not include the name of the agency just yet. I want, because the agency name doesn't really mean anything to anyone. They care more about like what it is that I am. So I'm a social media marketing agency. And based on who I'm reaching out to, I might change the title of the agency. So we are a full service agency. We do things in branding, marketing, social media, website. So depending on who I'm targeting, and in this email funnel, I'm targeting social media and marketing specialists, directors, managers, coordinators, etc. So people with that title. So this is why I'm being specific in the fact that I run a social media marketing agency. So right away, that's going to pique their interest. And the fact that I'm supporting small to mid-sized businesses, I made sure that I narrowed down who I'm targeting so that they're small to mid-sized businesses and I'm not reaching out to massive companies. And then I mentioned the location. So this is something that that will change. It's called a variable. It's a variable that's going to change depending on who I'm sending the email to. So the way that the platform works, I'm using Apollo.io, but there are a ton of other platforms that can help you send emails like this. But essentially, they grab the information of people from LinkedIn typically, and there you're going to have the name of the person, their location, the company they work for, the location of the company that they work for, and so on, like all of that, their email, etc. So that's where I'm grabbing the information and that's where I'm able to get these variables. So in my case, I'm typically just doing the company location. However, if you wanted to add further personalization, that typically helps with opening. So opening means open rates. The more personal you are, the better. I chose not to get too personal to test this out, but you can always do A/B testing on that first email that you send out to see which ones work better, which ones get more clicks and opens. So that's the first one, who you are. I'll say it again. Hi, I'm Alyssa. I run a social media marketing agency that supports small to mid-sized businesses in company location and beyond. And then you can add more personalization if you want. Next, you go into what you do. So, this is a good spot to call out any big achievements or something impressive about your business. Maybe that you're award winning or that you help businesses 10x their growth in 6 months guaranteed. What I wrote is this. At Nomad Creative, we've helped over 150 businesses grow their brands by producing top tier social media content backed by a solid lead generation strategy. So I'm really paying attention to what it is that they'll be interested in as opposed to what it is exactly that we do, if that makes sense. And that I'll get more into that into this next section of why they should care. So I further go in and say, I suspect that it's been a struggle for company name, not only to create quality content, but also to post consistently enough on all social media channels to see the growth and impact you desire. So now I'm basically calling out their problems, their pain points, right? What is the specific problem you can solve or the specific problem that your buyer has, and try to really get into the mind of the buyer. So you want to mention that and call out those pain points or a pain point. And in this case, it's the pain point that I called out is that they're struggling to create quality content, giving the resources that are available to them, which is impacting their ability to achieve the result that they want. So if we kind of jump back into what we do, the way that I describe what we do is that we produce top tier content backed by a strategy, and that essentially supports what their problem is and why they should care, which is that they are having trouble posting consistently and not getting the results that they want and not, posting the quality posts that they want. So paying attention to both ends, making sure that they tie and make sense together as well, obviously needs to make sense. Then you go into why you're reaching out. So this can be super, super simple. You can elaborate if you want and say, the reason for my outreach, however, is blah, blah, blah. I personally kept it super short and sweet. All I wrote was, I have some availability for new clients, period. That's it. Simple. That's why I'm reaching out. I have availability, and I'm basically telling them that I would love for them to be my client. But you don't have to say that because it says it all already in that one sentence. Then straight into the call to action. Already we're concluding the email. So always important to include a call to action. Now, a lot of people think call to action is book a call with me, and then they leave their link. The problem with that is you're leaving the action in their hands as opposed to proposing a response either with a reply to a question that you have. Well, really, that's what it is, a reply to a question that you have. That's the goal. The call to action is going to be a question. So interested in learning more, question mark. My call to action is, are you looking for social media? Are you looking for a social media expert right now? That's my call to action. So they can reply yes, or yes, I'm interested, I'm curious to learn more, which is what was the result of those 3 that had replied on day 1. Or they're going to say, no, I'm not interested. And if they're not interested, it might be that they're not interested right now. If they say, no, we're never going to need your services, that's it, that's all, then obviously like don't connect back with them. But if they're like, no, not right now, then you can reply back and say, thanks for letting me know. Is it okay if I can check back in with you in 6 months from now? And sometimes they'll reply, sometimes they won't, but it's worth a try because at least you got an answer from them. And honestly, any answer is better than no answer because that means that your emails are landing in their primary inbox and they're willing to engage with you and they think that you're a person. So they're replying, which means the structure of your email is great. So to hear it in full, because I know that's a lot, you might want to go back and re-listen to this episode. But to hear it in full, I added in basically the blank spots, right? So the name of the person, the variables, I should say, not the blank spots. I added in the variables so that you can see what it sounds like as a whole. So, hey, John, I'm Alyssa, and I run a social media marketing agency that supports small to mid-sized businesses in Toronto and beyond. And I love the webinar you put out last week. At Nomad Creative, we've helped over 150 businesses grow their brands by producing top-tier social media content backed by a solid lead generation strategy. I suspect it's been a struggle for RDI Diamonds not only to create quality content, but also to post consistently enough on all social media channels to see the growth and impact you desire. I have some availability for new clients. Are you looking for a social media expert right now? Boom. That's it. You're done. Super simple. If you want to copy me, go for it. It works. Just don't steal my clients. I'm just kidding. At the end of the day, there's enough work out in the world for everyone. And if this can help you, I am happy. Honestly, it took a lot of research and time to find something that worked for me. So I'm not sharing anything that you can't also find online, but I just saved you a ton of hours of research. So you're welcome. In terms of a next email in the sequence, I'm not going to get into all of them, but the second email can be just super simple, straightforward. Restate the question from your last email. Say, hey, first name, quick yes or no is fine. Do you need help with social media? So you're restating that question that you had posed in the first email in that call to action, which, by the way, in the call to action, don't link your calendar. I don't think I said that already, but don't link your calendar. Don't allow them to go in to click into your calendar. Chances are they're not going to do it. They're not going to get to it. If you want to schedule a call and that's the next best thing, then put it in your hands. Say, when is the best time to chat, or let me know what your availability is in your calendar so that we can find a time that works. Something like that instead of having them book. Obviously, if they're existing clients or you've been chatting or this is, a follow-up to a follow-up to a follow-up, then yeah, put your calendar. It's a different story. But especially in the early phases, you want to minimize their work as much as possible. It's your job. You're reaching out. They didn't come to you. You're coming to them. So keep giving them the best service and basically just like serve everything on a silver platter. In terms of some subject lines, what I'll say is try to tailor the subject line to your buyer and create some intrigue. Obviously, you want your subject line to match your email. I hate it when I see I get cold emails all the time in my inbox slash spam. Some of them land in my inbox, some of them land in my spam. That's another great tool, is that you can kind of check to see like what's working, what's not working, and like what you are gravitating towards as well. So kind of just take a look at that. Anyways, so make sure that that connects. You can personalize it and have their first name be in the subject or the company name be in the subject. And of course, depending on what you're sharing in the email, you want to make sure that it can match. So I'll give you some examples, but of course, you have to tailor this to your email. Don't just use these. These don't work for everything. They work depending on the type of email that you're sending. So we want to make that connection. Okay. Example, let's connect, first name, super simple. I get that one all the time. Honestly, not a fan. In my research, that is one that came up. It just feels a little cold and impersonal. I personally like putting the brand name in the subject as opposed to the person's name. So another example would be a great tool for company name. So a great tool for RDI Diamonds. And then they're gonna have some intrigue, right? Um, Another one could be 3 tips for pain point. 3 tips for growing your social media, for example. And yeah, there's a ton more, but I don't want to bore you. So if you're curious, DM me. I'll send you my list. I think that's good enough. I think I've done enough for today. Anyways, guys, I really, really hope that was helpful. To do a little recap on the breakdown of that first email, make sure to include who you are, what you do, why they should care, why you're reaching out, and a call to action. The follow up is going to be super, super brief. And remember, at the end of the day, the shorter the better, the clearer the better. Know who you're talking to, know what their pain points are, and hopefully you'll get some opens and get some clients and leads and generate some sales. So yeah, test it out, try it out. Let me know if you do and if it works. That's all I got to say. Have a good one. Bye.